Okay, welcome to Alex Books Up Tent. This is me, ground sheet down, pegged slightly, securing the camera because it blew over earlier. I cut that bit out. Yeah, so I'm using a mallet, metal mallet, because the ground is really hard, and when I put the big tent up, it's got some really thick pegs, which are great, but you know. Yeah, so the ground sheet isn't actually necessary for my tent. It's a Emperor bell tent, and bell tents usually kind of round. Um, there's the Emperor tent. Points to note: I've ratcheted the thing together because I find that works really well. Helpful to have extra straps to put it into, move it about, because it weighs quite a lot, and also as you can see there, and it's about to magically move, there you go. I've got a welcome mat which serves as a protection between the metal bit of the ratchet and the actual tent, otherwise it would tear through the canvas and ruin the tent. Quite expensive tent, so I don't want to do that. You've got to get it out of the bag. Here we go. Almost impossible to get it into the bag, but getting it out relatively simple. Now I have sped this up somewhat. Even though I've sped it up, camping is all lots of chatting and looking at the latest gear in the car and all this kind of stuff. That's fairly standard, isn't it? And I've hidden, and then I've just disappeared. So that looks quite small. It is huge, the Emperor tent. It's 3 meters high by about 6 meters across. Maybe it's less than 6 meters across, but anyway, definitely 3 meters high because the poles are that high. Here we go. Now the important things about opening the tent at this size is figuring out where the doors are, and getting it orientated the right way around. So here it's sort of kind of messing around originally. What you don't want to do is get this all pegged out and then realise the door's facing the wrong direction. Nightmare. So a good bit of prep and then figuring out there. I'm just sort of thinking about it a bit there. There we go, got it wrong, move it around. Right. So this bit it seems boring, but it is really important to get your tent of this size anyway. The little ones, it doesn't really matter. You can see it's got an integrated ground sheet, it's all zipped up, relatively speaking. And it's just flatten it out over that huge ground sheet I already put down. So it's 2 ground sheets is really good, because you'd be surprised how many people put airbeds in their tent with a ground sheet and the thorns still somehow get through, and then you've got a ruined airbed. I actually don't have one of those, but other people, you see that my friends up there putting their tent up, which is a non-canvas tent, they'll have that up in minutes. Yeah. 10-15 minutes. This tent I've got took about 2 hours, I think, in total to put up. Right, the first thing you need to do a tent this size. It was quite a windy day that day. You can't really tell because you can't see the trees, but yeah, it's relatively windy. And if you put a 3-meter pole inside, it's just going to take off across the brambles, and you're going to lose your tent. So here I am doing that. Anyone who's got that many ropes knows how just walking around the tent's exhausting, isn't it? There. So what I'm doing is undoing most of the ropes, then stretching them out so that I can tighten them up later. You want them undone as much as possible. Fairly common kind of tenting thing. And then you put it into your peg, and then you tighten up afterwards. So you put move the tent, the metal piece back towards, I don't know what it's called, back towards the tent, and that tightens the rope up. And you want, obviously in a high wind, you want it as tight as possible. I know it looks dark, but it's actually quite a sunny, hot day. It's just a camera. So you can see quite solid, and I've loosely pegged them in because I'm going to put two whacking great poles in. They need a bit of flex because I don't know how tight it needs to be, but it's tight enough so that the poles don't fall over and the tent goes over. The tent shouldn't move, but enough because it's gonna be in tension in a minute when I put the poles up. So that's as you can see, the tent we talked about earlier, which is non-canvas, which is that grey and blue one behind, is already up, whereas I'm still, doing the intermediate. Here we go. Here's the poles. They weigh quite a lot as well. Now you might say, and you'd be completely right, this is a very big tent for one person. Absolutely right. Yes, it is. Actually, there's two people going in that tent, but hey ho. Now this is the tough bit. I don't know what I've just thrown out there. So you can see the rope starting to tense as I'm putting the far pole in, and of course it's got trapped on the outside, but jiggle around a bit and get the tent in, and you can see, well, hopefully you can see how big the tent's going to be. It is. I basically sleep in the far left side, which has got a door. And there's a middle entrance between the two poles. There's another space, and there's a far space at the end. So the other pole's going in. I'm about to put it through the wrong hole. Yeah, completely the wrong hole. Don't do that. No, Alex, bad idea. There we go. I've realised, and I'm putting it through the right hole. And you can see the tension on the strings. So there we go. The tension on the strings. Fairly tight there, actually. Could have been a bit looser, but yeah, the tent's essentially up and it's not going anywhere, so that's great. I've just adjusted the camera for you so you can see the size of it, and I'm 6'4", so you can see the size of the tent. Right, and I'm now going to peg down the sides of the tent, which is fairly important. Again, with the massive pegs. Always a good idea to have lots and lots of pegs when you're camping. They're always, I mean, unless they're those massive things, those do not bend, but the little ones bend, and if you haven't got extras, you're gonna, yeah. But everyone knows this who's watching, because they're all people who camp, aren't they? So. I am knackered at this point. I am completely knackered. Yeah. But you can see it's starting to shape now. As I peg it out, it starts shaping. It looks more like a tent than a bit of tarp with two poles in it. But there's a lot of pegging out, and luckily I've done this at higher speed than just standard. So I must be walking quite slowly. Here we go. Yeah. I've given up there. Look. Right, and then inside the tent, on the Emperor tent, there are 3 of those. They kind of prop up the tent. So one's going to go at the far end, one's going to go at the near end near us, and one's going to go in the middle for the final door. Go again. I think this will be the side nearest us that's going to go up. Yeah, here we go. So you can see that's got 2 windows, and that is the end I usually sleep in, not necessarily, but so I sleep between that piece I've just put in and the first pole you can see, and that space is 6 foot or thereabouts, so that's plenty for a couple. There's a bigger space in between the 2 poles, and at the far end exactly the same again. So you can see that it's a pretty big tent, and you can see the wind there. Now, if I hadn't pegged that down and got the top bits up before I put the poles up, you can see the tent would have gone. Probably not over the fence, but probably into the brambles, and that would have been the end of the canvas. So it's all worthwhile. The pegging of this tent takes probably most of the time. Hi, so just the final bit left really, so I'll get the rest of the poles. Of course, once I've actually done this, I've got to fit up the interior, and as you'd imagine, it's quite a big space. So there may be another video a bit later on, which I haven't done yet at this point, to show you the inside and show you all the high-tech stuff I've got for the inside of the tent, because you know. The reason why I did all this is because I started off with a really small, very, very small tent, even smaller than the one that my friends have got over there. And you can see the height difference. That's 3 meters. They've got 1 meter probably over there. Yeah, when you've got a small tent, you really feel it. You go in, it's basically, you go in and sleep. There's not much more room to do that. This tent, you can, and I have, cooked inside with several tables inside the tent, with a king-size sleeping area, and more space. I mean, a lot more space in there. You know, you could comfortably fit 6 people in there. I'd say, 3 couples. Yeah, 3 couples. Yeah. So there's me pegging down the final bit. So that's all the pieces in really. So I'm just about to get the final bits of the string so you can see the whole thing up. I just want to show you the whole thing up. Wrong string, Alex. Middle string is what we want. There's another camper saying middle string. That's a better idea. There we go. Middle string, yeah. And now you can see it. So there you go. The whole thing up. There's more. You can see there's more strings put up, but I'm going to stop the video in a minute because the rest of it is fairly boring and putting up more pegs and pegging the ground sheet down. You can see on this there is a zip where that flap exists at the bottom, and it's open at the doors. You see, you can actually open the whole thing so it floats, which is kind of cool, with a ground sheet, but it floats independently of the ground sheet because of the poles, and the ropes hold the whole thing down. So then, if it on a very hot day, it's a quite cool, as in airflow tent. I'm not sure what. And he's trying to show me something. Yeah, so I mean that's it. There's the open door. I think I've got nothing in there. Camping is always full of. I've got a superior peg. Blah blah blah. Yeah. So with that last string up, you can see the whole tent up. It is considerably bigger than any other tent on there at the moment. There are bigger tents. You could use this, for example, to have, a group in there or something. And we have had groups in here before. The problems with it are, as you can see on the left-hand side, there's a patch where I've put it through the canvas in some moment of stupidity. Yeah, and the other thing is, of course, there's a lot to peg out because the pegging out the strings are what makes the tent have form. You also want to keep the tension on the top canvas because that's what keeps the rain off. Yeah, there's no inner tent. It's just that. Rain rolls off it. It's canvas. It's fine. it and the number of strings means it does not move in high winds. Well, relatively high winds. Most other tents sort of started bouncing across the field before this thing moves. It is very, very heavy. I wouldn't recommend it for one person, really, unless you're quite fit, and I'm not. I'm still doing more strings, but that's about it for this.